Good day, friends. Maloa here. I've had a blast playing through the Hiddenhoard of Abnankara. The graphics and mechanics are so cool. Today we're going to look at the last boss fight with Himrel, including the gauntlet. Hi, I'm Maloa, and I live on the LOTRO Brandywine server. I've been playing LOTRO for 10 plus years, and I am a raid addict. I've played on many servers, but at the moment I call Brandywine home. I'm so glad to show you Himrel's dream and Zone 3 of the Hiddenhoard. Let's go! Alright, we're moving on to Boss 3 of the Hiddenhoard of Abnankara Tier 1. So, this fight starts with Himrel. We're gonna fight her down to 86%. Then she's gonna transport us into her dream state. So we'll be going through a gauntlet, and we'll be fighting our way to the final boss fight. Now, Himrel, Frostheart, we call her Himrel out of respect. But she does one big mechanic, and it is called Freezing Breath. This is a massive frontal AoE. It can wipe an entire group. Now, when she starts inducting Freezing Breath, however, she's going to be standing still. When that happens, everybody has to make sure that they move at least to her side, so you're 90 degrees from her face, to avoid the frontal. Typically when this fight starts off, do not stand with Duran, because if she gets her freezing breath off right away, you'll die. So everybody needs to group up on her sides when this fight starts. And then it's usually a quick burn down to 86% when she phases and she transports you. Now, when you do transport, you want to wait and do a ready check before anybody moves forward, because there has been some instances where people have gone link dead and not transported correctly, and so it's just customary to wait, do a ready check to make sure that everybody has loaded in correctly into the dream phase before you actually start the fight, because otherwise that person might end up being locked out of the gauntlet, and you'll be one man down. Alright, now, Himrel has a couple of buffs, and we've seen these buffs before, but I'm going to go over them here again. She has Unyielding on her, which protects against all attempts to reduce her incoming healing. She has a permanent state of immunity, so she cannot be stunned, dazed, feared, or rooted. She cannot be slowed because she has protection from slows, and you cannot do any coordinated assaults like fellowship maneuvers on her. Alright, now, there is also going to be in this zone one debuff that will be applied to you, and that is called Sundered. You feel the darkness close in. It's -5 Light of Arendelle. This typically lasts for about 10 seconds. It's completely randomly applied. I believe it is a mechanic based off of the dream phase. It's not tied to any specific mob that I'm aware of. Now, you will be facing Maddened Taskmasters. The first phase of her dream goes about her time in the Abyss. So if you were doing Abyss at endgame, you'll see a lot of the same mobs and same mechanics. But for those that weren't part of the Abyss fights, here's all the information you need to know. So you have Maddened Taskmasters. They do Fury, okay? And it's stackable up to 9, so you can have multiple Furies. Sorry, it ranks up. Now, Fury, when it ranks up to 10, okay, the Taskmasters become unstoppable, okay? And it's kind of like an instant wipe at that point. Which is why Taskmasters have to be killed first, because you do not want them to rank up Fury at all. Okay, now they have protection from slows. They cannot be slowed. They cannot be crowd controlled. They do a frontal AoE. This means that when the tank runs in to pull the Taskmasters, the tank kind of needs to run through them and turn them around so that everybody is staying behind the Taskmaster. Everybody also needs to stay grouped up at this point as much as possible because they do a massive distributed damage. So in order to make sure that everybody survives, everybody got to stay grouped up. Okay? The Taskmasters also summon mobs, summon ads. And these ads are called Enslaved Nurnoth, but they are allies of Mordoth Taskmaster. And they're gonna spawn at 80% of the Taskmaster's health, and they die when the Taskmaster dies. So there's absolutely no reason for you to target them. You just need to target the Taskmaster. However, here's the neat thing about these. If you kill them, they will explode like a bomb. What does that mean? That means while the Taskmaster is up, everybody needs to be single target damage. No AoEs. Okay? You want to kill that Taskmaster single target, get him down quickly, and then everybody can go AoE and go kill everything else. Okay? Those bombs exploding, that frontal, everything else has to be ignored until the Taskmasters is done. If you're doing like tier 2, the second round typically have 2 Taskmasters. It's advisable to have each tank pick 1 Taskmaster and pull them away. Okay? Alright, now, Defilers. Defilers, what they do is they put foul vapors, which is a green puddle, onto the ground. The foul vapors of the spoiled gourd fill the air around you, choking you and your fellows and making it more difficult to combat foes. This increases attack duration and all skill induction of the mobs. Okay, so now, what does that mean for you? That means that if you're in a green puddle, if there's no outline, it's just like green vapor around you, you've got to move out of that. The other thing that they do is they do silence. And this is a fear debuff. It can be removed, but it's going to prevent you from using your skills. What does that mean? This means bring fear pots with you. Okay? Because your fear removal skill is going to be one of those skills that you cannot hit. Which means you're going to either wait a whole 10 seconds without you being able to do any skills, or your captain's going to have to muster courage repeatedly. So if you have fear pot, you can just pot it and carry on and not have to wait on a cappy or a mini to remove, or bear to remove the buff. You can just go about your business. So bring fear pots. Now, defilers can also be crowd controlled. So typically what we do when we see a defiler, we CC them, we save them until the very end to kill. They also do something that is called invigorating herbs. Okay? And so they heal everybody, they heal their nearby enemies' health back up. 5% health every 3 seconds, which is significant when we're talking about millions here. So take care of the defilers, crowd control them, leave them until the end, and so forth. Okay. Now you've got condemned trackers. Now condemned trackers, they can also be CC'd. They do proper motivation, and it's a corruption, right? So this time it's a shield with a shield on it. Okay. And what do they? Given the proper motivation, your foe is now able to resist all attempts to control them, which means that they cannot be CC'd when they have this on them. So if you want to crowd control the tracker, you've got to first make sure that there's no corruption on them, and then stun, mez, or daze them. They also do poison. They do arrow attacks and put poison debuffs on players. It's just the standard poison debuffs, so you can pot them and they can be removed. It's really no big deal. And then lastly, the trackers will also get, when they get proper motivation on them, they have a red shield around them. That's how you know that they've got corruption on them. So you want to make sure you hit corruption skills whenever you see a red shield on them. Alright, now, condemned soldiers, they can also be crowd control. They do reckless buff, which is a stackable buff for them. It's this one right here. And it's a plus 20% melee damage buff to them, so they hit a lot harder. They also get proper motivation. Once again, they can't be CC'd until the corruption is removed. And then you've got the Maddener North. They can be CC'd. They have a skill called Enraged, and the creature is mad, attacking enemies at random. Sorry, that was that one over here as well. But the soldiers do have a reckless buff. I just don't have a screenshot of it. So Enraged is this one here. It looks like a little guy stamping his feet, but the creature is mad and attacks random enemies, so they can't be picked up by your tank, which is usually why we just let them roam around and ignore them until the very end. They do put wounds on players. It's called Wild Slice. It can rank up, and it cannot be potted. So typically you want your tank just to spam challenge or its AoE aggro skill to pull them all onto the tank. But you got to keep an eye out on the tank then, because he will get this Wild Slice on him. Overseer. So the Mordath Overseer has protection from slows, cannot be slowed, cannot be dazed. Alright? There's two mechanics with the Overseer. The first is it does an aura of imposing presence, so it will reduce any incoming melee range or tactical damage by 50%. That means all the enemies that are within the range of the Overseer is going to be twice as hard to kill. The Overseer also does a skill called Marked. Now you have been marked for death by your foes. It means you're vulnerable to deadly attacks for 12 seconds. Typically, if you see that, you gotta run, you gotta kite, or you're screwed. Because everybody and everything is gonna try to run at you to kill you. The Overseers cannot be CC'd, so this cannot be controlled. Which is often, you will see some groups taking the Overseer out first, making it easier to kill everything else. Other groups tend to take the Taskmaster out first, and then the Overseer. Okay, then you've got the Echo of Winter. Echo of Winter cannot be stunned, and it cannot do fellowship maneuvers on it. It does a knockback. The knockback is completely random. There's no induction. It doesn't do any damage. It's more irritating and interrupts your flow of getting your skills off than it does anything else. The Winter does a massive frontal. So it's kind of hard to see with the Winter which side is front and which side is back. It really depends on if the tank has aggro. Hopefully the tank does have aggro, and whichever side the tank is standing on, don't stand on that side. Stand across from the tank with the Echo of Winter between you and the tank. Alright? That's really the only way to know which way is facing forward. The alternative to doing this, the Echoes of Winter can be completely ranged, but that takes forever, and who wants to wait forever to carry on with the fight? So we typically send the tank in, get aggro, turn, and make sure that everybody's positioned correctly. Now, the Echo of Winters also do an aura called Numbing Cold. We've gone over this before, but it does a 23k frost damage every 2 seconds for anybody that is standing close to it. So the ranged and the healers should try to stand outside of the aura so that all focus can be put on the melee class that is close to it. Now, mob kill order. We typically want to kill Taskmasters first because if theory cheers up to 10, they become unstoppable, and it's a guaranteed wipe. However, I've not tried it on tier 2 yet, so I can't say if it's more important to get the Overseer down first, because the Overseer does a negative 50% incoming damage on the Taskmasters, making them twice as hard to kill. So, we still need to experiment to try and find out whether it's better to kill the Overseers first or the Taskmasters first. That's going to be completely dependent upon group composition and your own raid, so you will have to do that evaluation for yourself. Then after that, we've got the do we have soldiers, not captains. Got soldiers, then trackers, then defilers. All right, now we've got 2 or 3 additional little mobs. We've got like 3 ice crawlers that we got to kill in the entire instance. They do a digestive acid. It does an AoE poison to anybody that is standing near the crawler. It can be removed. They also do sticky saliva. This one is a gray induction, and it's going to put a poison on a single target. It can also be removed. So ice crawlers are just like, okay, great. We've got 3 ice crawlers. Just kill them quick. Make sure everybody's doing poison removals, and you're good. Ice beasts, they don't do anything fancy. They just hit hard, and that's it. I believe they do an induction. I've not been able to capture that, but as far as I can tell, it's nothing major. Let's put it like this. Ice crawlers and ice beasts are not what's going to kill you in this raid. Alright, kill them in that order. And then you've got your standard, you've got your cold worms with the bleed, the ravenous jaws that they do. You've got your cold drakes. I've gone over these in the previous videos that you can refer back to. Only thing about the cold drake to really be concerned about is the massive frontal. Make sure she's turned away from the group. And then last thing is you've got Frostbound Hobgoblins. They do a gray bar induction called Trash. It's a small frontal AoE. Just make sure you're standing behind the mob and you can pretty much ignore the hobgoblins. And then Whelplings, be careful where you're standing, because they do drop the huge 5% morale damage bubbles. I've gone over these in the previous videos, so you can refer back to that. Same for the Ice Giant Warriors. They do the Fury distributed damage. They do knockbacks, and they cannot be slowed and cannot be stunned. So your burn order will be Callers first, then Worms, then Warriors, then Drakes, Hobgoblins, and Whelplings last. Alright, and now we're at Boss 3. So, Boss 3 mechanics, you have Hermel. I love this photo of her. It's so imposing. You've got Duran down in the little corner over here, facing off with her in the Vulcan lofts. And yeah, so there's a couple of mechanics. So Hrimhill, what she's going to do is we're going to fight her, and then she's going to summon ads, and we'll fight her and summon ads, and she goes back. Every like 10% of her health, something happens. So for the first 10%, we're just fighting her. Then at 90%, and so by the way, this is just tier 1. We assume that on higher tiers, we'll get more variety of ads, and we'll get maybe more difficult ads, more morale to burn down. But for tier 1, these are the ads that we saw. So at 90%, she shouts, "The orcs of Gundabad answer to me," and you'll get an orc wave of warriors or black arrows. You want to burn the warriors down first, and then the black arrows. Then at 80%, she's going to shout, "Feast, my children," and then we're going to have a drake wave of whelplings. At 70%, it's "None can withstand the Frosthorde," and you're going to have a giant wave come through. Warriors first, then Rangers. Make sure you take the Warriors out first, and then the Rangers. And then you've got 60%, "The Orcs of Gundabad answer to me." Another orc wave of Warriors and black arrows. 50%, "Feast, my children." Drake wave of Whelplings. 40%, "None can withstand the Frosthorde." Giant wave of Warriors and Rangers. And then 20%, there'll be a little role play. If you've not seen it, I'm not going to do a spoiler alert here. Watch it. It's kind of interesting. And then at 5% is you hit the final phase, and you'll teleport back out. So The important thing to note here is that it is on T1, it is very easy to transition through these phases every 10%. So the fight has to be controlled, meaning that you typically don't want to get overwhelmed by having all of the ads up, because if you have too many ads up, they will roll the entire raid and you'll just get pummeled. Our approach has been typically to burn the ads first, then go back on her, then burn the ads, then back on her. And this seems to work really well. The one thing that I will point out, if you're tanking it, to also not do too much damage on Hrimmel, but to rather just focus on keeping aggro on everything in the room. Because you don't want to accidentally phaser into the next phase of ads without having stabilized the entire raid. Okay, Hrimmel does two mechanics in this fight. First is Freezing Breath. This is a massive frontal AoE. It can wipe an entire group. I've seen it. Once she starts inducting, she's not going to move. So everybody needs to move away from her and at least get on her flanks 90 degrees from her face. Typically the tank will turn her away, but if you're out in the arena fighting ads, you might not be paying attention. So it's very important for somebody to shout Freezing Breath, or it's very important for the tank to make sure that the head of Hrimmel is always positioned away from the entire group. She does a second mechanic that is called Wing Buffett. This is an entire raid knockback. It doesn't do any damage, but it does spread everybody out across the entire arena. So when that happens, everybody has to move back in to be within healing range and then carry on with the fight. Hrimmel has these 4 buffs on her, in that you cannot reduce incoming healing, she cannot be crowd controlled, she cannot be slowed, and you cannot do any fellowship maneuvers on her. Alright, so I'm going to head on over to the game, and I'm going to do a quick demo for you on how we do Hrimmel's fight. Alright, here we go. Hrimmel in person. I want to get a nice screenshot of her. This is the third boss. We have the gauntlet that lies ahead of us, and we're gonna do this. Most important thing when we start here is to make sure that you do not stand next to Durin, but that you stand on around 90 degrees, round about here, so that you, when she does do her frontal, that you actually do not get hit. Now we will be burning her down to 86%, at which time we will phase, and then we will be going to this next dream.
I care not for words of false flattery, dragon.
But where has your sword-wielded friend gone? Where rests his mithril hammer?
Motsog is gone. His warhammer rests with him.
What have I now to fear? I live, and he does nothing. What say you, little prince?
I am Durin the Seventh, and I reject your claim
She
to Mount
is really, really big.
Be gone, or meet your doom!
She just knocks our red cappy out of this world. Alright, we're trying to burn really hard, freezing breath. Yes, I'm not standing in front of her. I should be absolutely fine. And there we go. So right now we're going to be teleported to the gauntlet area, and we're going to make sure that nobody runs ahead, because there is sometimes a crashed desktop during this transport, but when somebody comes back, they'll come back straight into the instance world, into the dream phase. So just hang tight while we transport.
Do not listen to her, my friend. You must resist.
Okay, and here we are now in our third phase. So this will be the beginning of the gauntlet. We will have our taskmasters, and we'll do taskmaster, and then we'll clean up the trash. We'll keep the defiler on the left locked down. So remember with the taskmaster, at 80, so at 80%, the taskmaster will summon his adds, and when they die, they will explode and kill everybody in the vicinity. You can do AoE, but you have to be mindful. They are actually summoned at 80% health of the taskmaster automatically, so we should be okay to AoE down until they reach 80%.
For too long, I was imprisoned in black pits.
The problem with pets here is that they will automatically just run to the next mob, and the next mob, and the next mob, because we will stay in combat for the majority of the fights until we get to the Echoes of Winter, and then we'll have a little bit of a break, and then we'll be fighting again. Make sure to stay on the back side of the taskmasters, guys, because they do a really big frontals. And they also do distributed damage, so we gotta kind of stay grouped up behind them. So up the stairs we'll have the overseers, the taskmasters. So you've got 2 defilers, an overseer, and 2 taskmasters up there. We're gonna want to take the overseer down first, because they will be sure to soldiers. defiler. I'm gonna take this defiler out first because he's putting the pedals down. That's just gonna drive everybody over scene. With this method that we're doing, Taskmaster jump down. We'll do the Taskmaster down. The defiler already went down. So the tank here is actually tanking both Taskmasters, and we're just all staying on their butt. First Taskmaster is down. Now we're doing the second one, getting out of this puddle in silence. Can I get a muster courage? Do corruption removals on the trackers so they won't take damage. See their shields drop once we did the corruption removal. Now we can actually hit them. And we should only have the Echo left now. The Echo of Winter. Alright, so here we've got the Echo of Winter. We can just range it until the tank actually wants to go in and do something. Just remember this one, you have a frontal. So you do not want to stand with the tank at this time, because you will be getting a lot of damage. You want to be standing on this side. If you're ranged, you can actually stay out of the range of this debuff so that you can just kill and not have to worry about taking any damage. That was distributed damage. Oh, I think that was from knockback. Alright, and that's the Echo. So that's the first phase. Next we're gonna get next we'll be getting the crawlers, the 3 little crawlers and the 2 snow beasts. The crawlers just do the spits, so they don't really do much. Next pull is pretty simple. So the stuff from the crawlers can be cleansed, so just need to kill them. Nothing really important. Just interrupt when we can.
Who had eluded Kara's guard, and those bereft of purpose after the downfall of Summer. I was in prison.
So here we have worms, drakes, and hobgoblins. Hobgoblins don't do anything, so we're just gonna do worm, drakes, and then the orcs on the side. The drake does the frontal, so we want to make sure that the tank turns them around. Oh, okay, so the frost breath will put an eye over your head. If you get that eye, you need to run to the tank side. So killing the worm worm first. Some bleeds. Now we're gonna kill the Drake because of the frost breath. Oh, that was distributed damage. That was pretty nasty. I'm just moving to the side since somebody didn't move through when they died. Just picking up our dead right now. And then we're gonna go do the next one. So you will note we're still in combat here. The reason is that we still have an Echo of Winter up. So next we're gonna have Worms, Drake, and Hobgoblins again. What we're gonna do is the tank will run forward, grab everything, and then just turn the mobs back to us so we can fight on the platform. It just avoids getting things stuck and riddled and all of that. So. So, change in tactics. The tank wants to pull it into the room, which is absolutely fine. It's an alternative method. So we're just retreating right now to give the tank enough room to maneuver. And here they come. We're gonna kill the worm first. I love how no one is following target assist. Now we'll do the Drake. Massive breath is the big frontal that he does. And he's dead. Alright, now we're gonna have the Grim. And we just gotta make sure that we stand behind this Echo of Winter so we do not get the frontal. Alright, and right after this we'll be out of combat, and that is usually the perfect time to apply any buffs for the next pull. And that concludes that Echo. We're just doing real buffs real quick, and then we'll run off to the next area.
All would serve me.
Now we transitioned back to be back in combat because we've got an echo up ahead.
Do you not
We've got
see?
drakes, collars,
It
giants,
matters
and
not that
whelplings.
you
Burn order
resist,
will be
Durin.
collars,
In time,
Drake,
my voice
warrior,
will turn
and
even your most
whelplings.
trusted allies against you. And when you stand alone before the vast might of the Frosthorde, you will learn how little that precious name of yours truly means. I am Remil Frosthard. I am the Herald of Winter. I have outlived all who bore that name before you. I will outlive you!
We're gonna take this collar out first. Because of all the debuff that he puts up. Alright. Got a wound on me, removing that. Move a little bit out of it. Alright, both of them are down. What's left? We'll do the Drake next. Watch puddles. Alright, the Drake is almost down. Next, we're gonna do the warriors. Somebody's pet is loose. So, pets in this gauntlet area is very, very buggy because they're constantly wanting to run ahead. So it's best to usually just dismiss pets if you don't want to accidentally aggro anything. So like the Cappy's pet just ran up here and started this Echo of Winter fight. With the Echo of Winter, since she does do kickbacks, the best strategy we have found is to kind of align like the steps like that, so that if she does knock you back, she just knocks you back down the steps and you don't have to waste time running around. Now we're just killing the Echo of Winter. And that's done. And so now we have officially completed the gauntlet. We're gonna run down here and we're onto Rimmel and her final boss battle in here. So remember here with this fight, we are going to transition every 10%. So the first 10% we're gonna focus on her, then she's gonna call ads, then we're gonna kill the ads, then we're gonna go back on her. And we're gonna do that every 10%. New ads will come out, you'll kill the ads, go back on her. When she gets down to 20%, she's gonna do a monologue. After that, we'll burn her down to 5%, and then we phase back out of the tree. And now, the most important two things to remember also is that she does a frontal. Frost breath, you want to get out of, you don't want to stand in front of her when she does that. She does a wing flap that will shake you backwards. When that happens, you get spread out all over the arena, run back to her so that you're within healing range. And then third, remember, she will get the buffs of every and all mobs that are around her, which is why we burn down the mobs first before we focus back on her. And that is pretty much the fight. So, I typically
Here you
like to stand
Durin,
on her back
before
left
the
paw
eyes of your
as a ranged DPSer.
ancestors.
Because then I
Let
am
the
not in front.
fate of Gungamar be decided at long
The tank,
last.
the tank usually will stand with Durin so that once aggro gets pulled,
I am not alone.
it's much easier since she'll already be facing that way.
My
And
kin
the
and kindred,
rest of the
the
group
moment
usually
is
will
at
just
hand.
kind of group up on her left
Strike true.
leg. Oh. That was fun. She just likes to randomly select somebody and swat them. Our tank is down. Freezing breath, get out of the way, get away. That was a pretty rough start, but looks like we are stabilizing. Oh, we're gonna have ads come in now with Phaser. Let's see. There we go. Warriors are in. Burning the warriors first because of the weights that they put on people. And then we'll do black arrows after that. Please focus on my targets and not on the boss. We've got black arrows we need to take out before we phase her. Oh, never mind, already phased her. Please be sure to follow my target assist. Everybody come out here and let's kill this black arrow. AoE off of that black arrow, please. Burn Whelplings. Make sure to move out of puddles. Okay, back on boss. Actually, we've got the next phase coming now. This one's gonna be giants. My target behind us. Everybody should be on the warrior. Can you turn the dragon, please? burning the warrior next. Freezing, get away. Can the tank please turn her 180 degrees? Freezing, get away. Melee, please work on the hunter. Leave the warrior to the range. Focus, boss. Next wave will be orc warriors and black arrows. One of the champs round up all of these warriors and hunters, please. So we're burning the warriors first, and then we'll work on the black arrows. It's usually a much cleaner fight if you have a second tank, because the second tank can focus on picking up all the adds and pulling them away from the boss. That way you won't have as many deaths, because nobody will be standing in front of the boss. The reason why we lost 4 people earlier was because they were positioned incorrectly in front of the boss. We're gonna have our next set of ads come in next. This time it will be Whelplings. Here they come. For this one, just AoE off of boss. Tank can grab him. Everybody cluster up. We'll just AoE them. My target, or on the warrior, beware of puddles. Great breath. These guys are learning. Next warrior. So we'll do this next warrior, however, he's by the tank. Can one of the champs grab him? pull him back. Nice job. Okay, Hunter. This is the last ad, and then we'll be back on the boss. Nicely done. Back on freezing breath. She's gonna do at 20%, she's gonna do her dialogue. So I will show you guys that. Here we go.
It is time you faced your fear!
No! Stay away from me!
Uncle Nayan!
Oh no!
Baruch Kazad! Kazad Aimenu!
Alright, now we are going to go big. As soon as oceans are up, I will hit. Alright, here we go. Burn, burn, burn. Kill, kill, kill. Only gotta get her down to 5%. And there we go. And we are done. Sorry, 6%. So that's the entire fight. If you all get this far, congratulations. You would have just succeeded
You are beaten, Hrimil.
in the Hiddenhoard.
Your armies are slain, and your voice is broken. Beg my mercy, and your death will be swift.
And that's it.
Nayan, no!
If you would like a PDF version of these slides, click on the link below to download your free copy. If you want more LOTRO rating videos, make sure to click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you do not miss an episode. Wasn't this raid amazing? Drop a comment below and let me know your favorite part of this raid. Until next time.